Good evening. I'd like to open tonight's meeting of the Queensbury Zoning Board of Appeals, May 26th, 2021. Our procedure here is fairly simple. There should be an agenda on the back table. We'll call each case up, read the case into the record, allow the applicant to represent his case, ask questions of the applicant. If a public hearing has been advertised, then we'll open the public hearing and take input from the public. We also allow people to call in and voice opinion on the project. And our number is 518-761-8225. At the end of the public hearing, we'll poll the board, find out where we stand on the project, and proceed accordingly. We don't have any administrative items, so we'll call the first case, which is AV 26, 2021, Steve Dempsey, 3239 State Route 9L.
The applicant proposes alterations to an existing home of about 1,905 square feet. It includes 111 square foot addition on the main floor of the home, a 327 square foot second floor addition, 407 square foot new deck, and to replace a 125 square foot screen porch with a bathroom addition. Relief requested is for setbacks per Section 179-3-040 dimensional, and the applicant's requesting this the setbacks in the RR5A zone. The additions to the existing home, where the new addition is to be 34 feet from the to the west property line, where a 75-foot setback is required, and is to be 32 feet to the rear setback, where 100 feet is required. The deck is to be 34 feet to the west property line, where 75 feet is required, and 26 feet to the rear property line, where 100 feet is required. As per the criteria for considering an area variance according to Chapter 267 of Town Law, and making a determination, the board shall consider 5 criteria. 1, whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood, or a detriment to nearby properties be created by the granting of this area variance. Staff says minor to no impacts to the neighborhood may be anticipated. 2, whether the benefit sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance. Feasible alternatives may be considered limited due to the location of the house on a 1.05 acre parcel. The parcel is located in the rural residential 5-acre zone where most any work on the home would require a variance. 3, whether the requested area variance is substantial. The request for relief may be considered moderate relevant to the code. The relief requested for the west setback for both the deck and the addition is 41 feet. The rear setback relief for the addition is 68 feet, and the deck is 74 feet. 4, whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district. Minor to no impact to the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood may be anticipated. And 5, whether the alleged difficulty was self-created. The difficulty may be considered not self-created, as the lot is a pre-existing non-conforming parcel. Staff comments, the applicant proposes to improve an existing home with a second-story addition, alterations to the main floor, and a new deck. The plans show the interior renovation floor plan and the location of the additions and deck to the existing home.
Good evening, board. I'm Tom Hutchins, and I'm here with owner applicant Stephen Dempsey. And this is, the staff notes described it well. 3239 Route 9L. It's a house that was listed as built in 1915, and that's not it, Jim.
She's trying to get a hold of the...
That's the other one.
Yes.
It's an older residence, it needs a fair amount of work. It is actually in our 5A zone, and it's a 1 acre parcel. So it has a 100-foot front setback and a 100-foot rear setback, and the lot's 180 feet deep. So there's no compliant building area right here. What Steve's proposing, I think makes a lot of sense, and it's relatively modest. He's got a small addition off the rear of the parcel, a new deck across the rear of the parcel, a rebuilt porch entry room that's going to become an additional bathroom, and one section of the roof to the rear of the parcel is coming up to get a second floor addition. He's not compliant with the rear setback, although I would note the setbacks for the additions are greater than the existing setback of another portion of the house. In both cases, side setback and rear setback. So with that, I guess we turn it over for any questions from the board. And Steve, if you want to add anything.
Do we have questions of the applicant? Pretty straightforward, I think. No questions? So a public hearing has been advertised. So at this particular time, I'm going to open the public hearing and see if there's anybody in the audience who would like to speak on this project, and invite anybody on the outside who's watching to give us a call at 518-761-8225 and give us your input. And Roy, is there any written?
Thankfully not.
That one woman was mad because you didn't read the 38 letters. So we just have to wait 2 minutes to allow people to call in from the outside.
Obviously, in 1915, when this house was built, was that part of any of those other properties, like owned by the Courtney there or anything? Does that go back that far, or do you know?
They were all tied together.
They're all tied.
There
Yeah.
was a woman-
I mean, obviously, there was no zoning then, so when they built that house there, they didn't know there would be the setbacks that there are today, so. So it's.
So Karen, we're dependent on you to keep track of the time here.
Yep, I got about one.
Welcome back. We missed you last week.
Well, thank you. I missed you
She
guys
did that
too,
on
but
purpose.
I went to
That's
bed
right. She
earlier.
knew that was going to.
She read the tea leaves.
Hey, you missed a good meeting.
Well, you didn't stay for the whole thing.
No, I didn't.
Lapper did,
I
though.
used to do that.
Yeah, that did stuff for the last one, right?
Yeah, he had 7
Yeah,
out
long
of 8.
day.
That was a good day for him. In fact, that's probably, I don't think I've ever seen a lawyer represent more than 2
that was
at one of our
unusual.
meetings. That was unusual.
Yeah, I'm sure he was a little bit uncomfortable with some of them.
Yeah. So that's why he gets paid.
Yeah, he gets paid the big bucks.
Are you any relation to Karen?
Karen Dempsey?
Yeah.
Yeah, her brother.
Oh, weren't you twins?
We were in the same class.
Okay, I was twins.
Yeah. It was just up with them up in Maine last week. That's where she lives now.
We weren't great
Mike.
friends, so I don't need to recuse
Mike.
myself or anything. We just.
LeBron.
That's it.
LeBron.
That's it. Bob LeBron.
We're good with the 2 minutes.
So at this particular time, I'm going to close the public hearing, and I'm going to poll the board, and I'm going to start with Brad.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think this is pretty straightforward. You know, the noting that the house is on a 1.05 acre parcel and located in the rural residential 5 acre zone. Most any work on the home would require a variance, so I have no problems with this.
Ron?
Yeah, I think that it's a minimal request, and I'd be in favor of it.
John?
Yeah, I also agree with my board members at this point. Yeah, there's no doubt it's very minimal. I mean, it's a large request, but minimal in my book, so I agree with the project.
I agree with everybody else. I'm in favor.
Jim?
I agree with everybody else. It's based upon the rural residential 5 acre zoning.
Kathy?
Yeah, I mean, it's substantial on its face, but it is minimal compared to what already exists in the pre-existing nonconformance. So I'm okay with this.
So it's an improvement to the property, so it's going to enhance the neighborhood as it is, although it's not really a large neighborhood on that side, I would say. And it's actually minimal when you really look at what's going on, so I'm in favor of the project also. So I'm going to ask Ron to make a motion for us here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity. I want to recommend that we approve area variance AV 26, 2021, Steve Dempsey, 3239 State Route 9L. As per the document prepared by staff, we find that there is not an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood nor a detriment to the nearby properties, as this is an existing pre-existing non-conforming structure, and we're just doing minimum adds. Feasible alternatives are limited due to the size of the property, which is 1.05 acres, and have been considered by the board and have been included to minimize the request. The requested variance is not substantial, and there is not an adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district. The alleged difficulty is really not self-created, as the home is pre-existing non-conforming. And in addition, the board finds that the benefit to the applicant of granting this requested variance would outweigh the resulting detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood community. The board also finds that the variance requested under consideration is minimal as necessary. Therefore, I recommend we approve area variance AV 26-2021.
So we have a motion. Can I have a second, please? Brett, call the vote, please.
Mr. Henkel?
Yes.
Mrs. Hamlin?
Yes.
Mr. Yuriko?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhl?
Yes.
Mr. Underwood?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Mr. McCabe?
Yes.
Thank you, board.
Congratulations.
Good night.
You got a project.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So do we know anything about Nathan?
You need these plans?
You got it.
Are you coming before another board or anything?
No, we're done.
Okay, let me try again. So Nathan is going to call you at 7:15. He apologizes. He did not understand the process at all, which is unusual, but that's fine. I said we still had the method of calling in, and so he's going to call in and explain a bit of his project to you, and you can go through the process as we still have that opportunity available to us. So I apologize, it's unusual, and it's a COVID year.
Can we make a motion to go through with it even though he's not here?
Well, he doesn't have to be here, actually. So, way
Right.
back in the beginning, we did a couple of these like this.
Right, so I've,
Meeting without the Zoom.
yep, so I've asked him to call in to the phone so that you would be able to hear him, at least provide the description of the, you're going to read through it, he can be on the phone. So 7:15, I asked him to call in, so hopefully that phone number works.
So let's see, I got to have Brett and Ron sign here,
Oh, thank you.
so we can take care of that.
What time did you say he was calling?
I told him to call at 7:15, and my phone says 7:13.
This clock is off on the wall then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little bit
We'll take that.
That's right.
I didn't know that was off.
Yes.
Yeah, you do the last.
Now 7.
According to our phone here, it's 7:14.
7:14.
Not one. I know him, but that's about it.
Here you go.
This is the Queensbury Zoning Board of Appeals. Yeah, so here's what's going on, Nathan. I'm going to put you on speakerphone here. We're going to address your application here, and if need be, we'll ask you some questions. So just hang on.
Okay.
So our next case is AV 25, 2021, Nathan Smith, 4 Howard Street.
The applicant proposes a second floor over the existing 426 square foot garage area with some interior alterations on the first and second floor areas for the additional living space on the second floor. The existing home is 1,200 square feet, and there are no changes proposed for the site. The relief requested is for setbacks for the new construction, and that's new construction in the MDR zone, and that's per section 179-3-040, dimensional requirements. The new addition to the existing home is over the garage area, where it is to be 19 feet 6 inches from the front setback, where 30 feet is required, and then 10 feet from the rear setback where 30 feet is required. And looking at the criteria, the proposed project may be considered to have minimal to no impact on the character of the neighborhood and nearby properties. Feasible alternatives may be considered limited due to the location of the existing home and lot configuration. The relief requested may be considered moderate relevant to the code. Relief requested for front setback is 10 feet 6 inches, and rear setback relief is 20 feet. The relief requested may be considered to have minimal environmental or physical impact on the neighborhood, and the difficulty may be considered self-created. Staff comments: the project includes constructing a second-story addition of 426 square feet that is to be a new bedroom. The plan shows the existing floor plan, and the proposed floor plan shows the interior alterations. The exterior of the building only changes where the existing garage is. The new construction will match the existing home.
So it's pretty straightforward. Nathan, do you have anything to add?
No.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions of the applicant? Seeing none, a public hearing has been advertised, and so at this particular time, I'm going to open the public hearing. Asked if there's anybody in the audience who would like to speak on this particular project, and invite anybody on the outside to give us a call at 518-761-8225 for input on this particular project. Nathan, I'm going to ask you to hang up for 3 minutes here to give people and anybody that wants to call in an opportunity to call in. So I'm going to hang up on you right now, and I'm going to ask you to call back in 3 minutes. Can you do that?
Yeah, no problem.
We only have one line.
There's no hold, huh?
No, just-
No way to hold.
There is, but that being insufficient this way.
So Roy, is there any written?
There's no other comment?
So Laura, as things open up, does it look like we're going to have some live training opportunities from the Planning Federation, or you don't have any?
At the moment, I haven't seen anything that's live training yet, or in person, conferences, things like that. But I'm assuming over the next, I would say probably a few weeks, I think people start switching over to in-person fairly quickly. I'm pretty sure of that.
So do you think that they'll have the event up at the Sagamore?
I don't know, I haven't been told.
That was always April. Shouldn't be April.
Yeah, I'm surprised they moved it to the floor.
Maybe the fall.
It's a lot extra work for Laura.
We're good for the time. The public hearing is all set. It's been 2 minutes.
So we just have to wait for him.
I was talking to somebody remodeling his home, gutting the inside.
Yeah.
And he talked about everything is so expensive.
Basically, if you're comparing with a year ago, you've got to double the price.
Yep.
Queensbury Zoning Board of Appeals. Nathan, okay, I'm going to put you back on speakerphone here. Okay, can you hear us all right?
Yep.
So at this particular time, I'm going to close the public hearing, and I'm going to poll the board, and I'm going to start with Kathy.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty much building within the same footprint, so, the rear yard is kind of substantial, it's 2/3, but again, he's really not increasing the footprint, so I would be in favor.
Jim?
Yeah, it's a 26 square foot addition of a bedroom on top of the garage, and I don't think it's any big deal. I think it's a 1.16 acre lot, so that's why we have the request.
Roy?
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I think it's a minimal project compared to what's already there, so I'd be in favor of it.
John?
It's the only way to increase the floor space without increasing the footprint. So it's fair request, so I'd be on board.
Ron?
I agree with my board members. It's minimal request, and I'd be in favor of it.
Brett?
I agree with everyone, minimal request, and I too am in favor, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, so this area in general is pretty tight. So considering that, what's being asked for in forgiveness of setbacks is really quite minimal, and I think it will improve the look of the property. So I'll support the project. So I'm going to ask Kathy for a motion here.
Okay, so I move to approve area variance AB 25-21 from applicant Nathan Smith at 4 Howard Street. He is requesting relief for setbacks for front and rear due to a new addition to his existing home. It will be built over the garage. He's asking for 10 feet 6 in the front of relief and 20 in the rear. A public hearing was held and advertised on May 26th of this year. And upon review of application materials, information supplied during the public hearing, of which there was none, and upon consideration of the criteria specified in section 17914-080A and Queensbury Town Code and chapter 276 of New York State Town Law. And after some discussion and deliberation, we, the Zoning Board of Appeals, find that there is not an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood nor any detriment to nearby properties. Feasible alternatives were considered, and they would increase the footprint, and therefore what has been presented here is considered reasonable to minimize the request. The requested variance, it's somewhat substantial on its face, but in terms of the fact that there's no increase to the footprint, we see it as minimal. There is not an adverse impact on physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood nor the district. The alleged difficulty would be self-created. In addition, the board finds that the benefit to the applicant in granting the requested variance would outweigh the resulting detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community. The board finds that this variance request under consideration is the minimum necessary. The board has imposed no conditions, and therefore I move to approve this area variance.
So we have a motion. Can I have a second, please? Ron seconded, so
Or should I say 2 area variances? Okay.
call the vote, please.
Mr. Hankel?
Yes.
Mrs. Hamlin?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhl?
Yes.
Mr. Yuriko?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Mr. Underwood?
Yes.
Mr. McCabe?
Yes. So Nathan, congratulations. You have an approved project here.
Laura, you need any of these plans for?
Have a good evening.
Okay, one question.
Sure.
Is there a time for this as far as the permit this you do and move forward?
You have 1 year to complete this project. If you can't do it within that time, then you can come back to us and ask for an extension.
Wow. 700 grand.
Okay.
And they're continuing.
Is that all?
Oh, yeah, they're going up right now, the foundation's ready right now. So
Okay, have a good evening.
Next, our house? Yeah.
That's it?
Laura wants to-
Okay.
Oh, okay.
16.
So Laura, you want these plans?
Yes, please.
Oh, you want these?
Yeah.
Oh,
And then you can submit,
about first step?
Did we adjourn yet?
So at this particular time, I'm going to make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting. All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much for your attention.
Do we have like